Hello and welcome. My name is Mushtaq Bilal, and I hope you know me. If you don't know me, that's totally fine. Um, I did my PhD from Binghamton University in New York, and then I moved to the University of Southern Denmark here in Denmark, Odense, Denmark. I worked there as a postdoctoral scholar for 2.5 years, after which I got a job in a small startup here in Copenhagen, and the startup also very academia related, and we are building an app there for systematic reviews. But today we are going to talk about Chat Academia. I'm one of the co-founders of Chat Academia, and this app is a direct result of some of the problems that I faced and some of the things that people and colleagues shared with me on social media, on Twitter and LinkedIn. If you don't know me, I write regularly on Twitter and LinkedIn. Some of you may already be following me there. If you don't follow me, that's totally fine, but I post a lot of tutorials there, so you can consider following me. No pressure. There is no pressure. Excuse the self promotion, but no pressure. I post a lot of tutorials, and you can stay up to date by following me here or on LinkedIn. If you don't like Elon Musk, I totally understand. Okay, let's get started. So, Chat Academia is an app that we designed especially for academic research. And because I'm an academic researcher myself, I thought, what are the kind of problems that I face and that I can generalize? So, I teamed up with a colleague that I found from Twitter, and we built this app called Chat Academia. So when you land on chatacademia.com's landing page, this is how it looks like. And what we've done is you can sign up for free. You'll get 500 credits every month if you have a free account, but you can also, after that, you will need to upgrade your subscription. In today's webinar, I'm going to show you all the features that we have in Chat Academia. So once you sign in and sign up and log into your account, this is how it would look like. So in the left-hand side, you will see that this is academic chat. This taskbar shows you all the AI agents or features that we have. Academic chat, brainstorming research questions, identifying research gaps, finding novel research questions, finding relevant papers, finding grants for your projects, reading assistant, recording notes, asking your audio notes. Then you can find citations. You can run visual searches using paper graph. You can extract data from papers. You can take a literature over. You can do a literature overview. This is not a literature review. This is an overview of literature. You can also you can also get a research verdict. So if you have a yes no question, you can ask Chat Academia. It will give you a yes or no verdict. What's the verdict of according to established or published scholarship? Then you can use it for a mock peer review. It also has an AI powered notepad. Sorry, AI will not write for you, but AI will be there as your assistant. And then we have integrations with Zotero, Mendeley, and Google Drive. And the last feature is memory, in which if you keep on chatting with this, it will keep updating its memory, your memory, the kind of questions you like, the kind of work that you do. And then it will it will customize its answers according to your field or the kind of work that you do. It also has onboarding process. When you sign up, it will ask you a few questions. What kind of field you are in, what kind of work that you do. So if you describe your field and the kind of work that you do precisely, that will help a lot in helping Chat Academia give you relevant answers. But if you don't want to write, while onboarding, that's fine. You can come back to it later on as well. Okay, so this is the left-hand taskbar where we have all the AI agents. In the middle, you see this is a chat box, and then you will see in the right-hand side, you will see the history. So whenever you chat with an agent here, or if you chat with brainstorm research questions, um, sorry, there is somebody's writing on my screen. Let me just remove this if it is possible.
Sorry, it was done by mistake, Mustak.
Oh, no problem. No problem. Let me just
My
remove
apologies.
this. No, I don't know how to remove this. Can you remove this?
No, actually, I was trying that typing feature in Zoom AI, so it came by mistake. Yeah. My apologies once more. Yeah.
No problem. No, I think if you press Control Z, it should undo this.
Let me try this.
Yep. Yep. It works.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. No problem.
Thank you.
So on the right hand side, you will see that it has history. So in Chat GPT or in Claude or other tools, what happens is that if you do different chats, all the chats are combined here. And then there is no way for you to find out if you looked for papers, if you ran a search, if you brainstormed research questions, everything is grouped there. So we have separated these things. So all your chats are combined in here. And these are distinguished, or these are separated according to the agent that you use here. Okay, so this is how it would look like when you start out for the first time. So let me cover this academic chat. But okay, but before we go there, one more thing. So if you look here in the chat bar, you will see that we have these three models: Fast, Pro, and Max. I usually use Pro. Sometimes I use Max, but you can also, go with Fast. Fast is very efficient and quick. But more important than that is this. If you look here, we have 8 databases that we have integrated. So we have Semantic Scholar, more than 220 million papers. Archive, Semantic Scholar is for all fields, including humanities, social sciences, natural sciences. Archive is for computer science and STEM. And PubMed is for biomedical sciences. Google Scholar is Google Scholar. Everybody knows about it. Google Scholar has 400 million plus papers. ERIC is for education. It has more than 1 million papers. Europe PMC is PubMed's alternative, European alternative, and Europe PMC has 47 million papers, 7 million more than PubMed. Then we have OpenAlex. OpenAlex, one of the most powerful and exhaustive databases, 470 million books and articles indexed in OpenAlex. And then we also have Crossref that gives you metadata of more than 170 million papers and scholarly articles and items. Now you can see here that we have close to or more than 500 million papers, books, and scholarly items in here that you can integrate just with a simple mouse click. So if you want to integrate all these databases, that you can do as well. But if you want to do a more precise search, you're like, okay, I'm a biomedical researcher. I don't need Semantic Scholar. I don't need Archive. They are irrelevant. I only need PubMed and I need maybe Europe PMC. So I'm going to just deselect them and I'm going to only have these two databases. You can select, remove, or deselect with a simple click of a mouse. There is no coding, nothing, simple click of a mouse. But if you're like, okay, I don't need PubMed, I don't need Europe PMC, I'm a humanities scholar, I'm going to go with Semantic Scholar and Google Scholar and maybe OpenAlex. Suit yourself, no problem. Very easy to do, very user friendly. If you're an education researcher, you can run searches through Education ERIC and deselect all of these. So this is a feature that I'm really proud of that ChatGPT doesn't offer, that Claude doesn't have, and that is because Chat Academia is designed for academic research, unlike ChatGPT, which is much more general purpose. Okay, so academic chat is just like the name implies, it is for having a general academic chat without any structure. So for example, let me integrate all these databases just so we can see if these databases are integrated properly or not. So in here you can ask very simple, simple or complex questions. Any question that you want to have, that you want to ask Chat Academia in a rather unstructured way, or you're like, okay, I want to have an academic chat, or I want to ask a few questions with no structure. So let's say I want to ask a question, how does social media impact mental health of academics? So I can ask here, this is just like, not just like, but it is similar to what ChatGPT would do. But in here, you will see that it will not answer your question willy-nilly. It will go and run these searches in these databases. You see, So what it will do is it will take this question, chop it up into multiple pieces, and then run all those pieces through multiple databases, all the databases that we selected simultaneously. You can see here all this thinking, thinking process is going. And then it will answer your question. You can see here the positive impacts, community support, and then negative impact, and then in short. So it's a short little answer. It's a rather unstructured conversation. This is academic chat. But sometimes when we are starting out on a research project, we need to have a question, we need to brainstorm ideas. So we have this feature, brainstorm research questions. Now in here, this is a very useful feature. And back in 2023, when I started my postdoc, there is this app called Elicit. Elicit used to have this feature called brainstorming research questions. And what I found that very helpful because I would just play around with it. I found that helpful, but then after a while, Elicit, deleted that feature, removed the feature, killed that feature. So what we did was we introduced this feature, but we've also integrated this thing in with academic databases. So let's say I want to ask a question, something like, how does social media impact mental health of academics? Let's say this is my project. I don't know how to approach this question. I want to research something related to this, but I want to have a few ideas. How should I approach? Should I research PhD students? Should I research tenured professors? Should I research undergraduates? Should I research colleagues, academics who are on temporary jobs? Or what kind of impact it has on academics. So I want to brainstorm a few research questions. You can see here, once you run a question, it will give you a short little write up here, and then you can move this thing here. You can use this screen divider, and then it will give you a list of research questions to brainstorm ideas. You can use them like this in the form of a graph like it has, and then you can also do this list. So list I find a lot neater and easier to negotiate. So we have a list of questions, 16 research questions. So now we can think about, now we can brainstorm research questions in a much more structured manner. So for example, how does the blurring of professional and personal boundaries on platforms like X, Twitter affect the work-life balance and stress levels of university faculty? Tell me more about it. This is the kind of thing that I face almost every day of my life. I cannot turn my brain off. Or when my work is done, I'm coming back home on metro, and I open my phone and I log on to Twitter. So am I working? Am I not working? What is it? So let's say this is a question that I find interesting, and then there are many more questions. You can go through them, read them, and pick one or two that you think are most useful, most interesting. So for example, how does the hypervisibility of academic success, job offers, major grants on social media influence the career attrition rates and depression scores of contingent faculty? I was just talking about contingent faculty. Let's say I find this question rather interesting. This is like, okay, this speaks to me. I want to research it, but this is still very wide, still very broad. You can refine it. You can go here, click on refine, and you can give it additional details. You can say, okay, I want to, or maybe you can say American and British universities, humanities, humanities and social sciences PhDs. So I've given two more um, criteria to refine this question. And when I click on refine, what this will do is it will take this question, Chat Academia will take this question and give me refined versions of this question. Chat Academia calls it sub questions. So we will have a list of sub questions. It is thinking here, as you can see in the left hand side. It is thinking, and then it will add some sub questions to this question. Here you go. So now we have 16 sub questions. And if I click here, it should give me these 16 sub questions. Now I can go and read them. How does the visibility of UKREF research excellence framework successes on social media impact the depression scores, and so on? What role does constant exposure to peer tenure track job announcements on Twitter play in the timeline of US and UK contingent faculty? And we have a bunch of research questions here. So we have 32 research questions now. But let's say I have a research question. Let's say this is a research question. Oh, wow, this is very interesting. What social media avoidance strategies, for example, muting phrases like thrilled to announce, humble to share, do, do contingent HSS faculty use to protect their mental health? I can totally relate to this because thrilled to share, everybody is always thrilled to share something on Twitter. And some people may want to mute these. How does participating in a shadow CV? Shadow CV is a very interesting concept. So a CV is a document where you list everything that you have achieved or all of your successes and experiences. And shadow CV is a concept where you share everything that you failed at. So let's say you applied for 5 grants and you failed at, you didn't get 4, got rejected, and then you got 1. So shadow CV is everything that did not work out for you. Okay, so let's say this question, I find this question very relevant, interesting, and I want to research this. But before I jump into it, I want to make sure that this question is novel enough. I want to make sure that there is not enough scholarship already available on this question, because if there is already like there are 3 books and 25 research papers, then I will have a very hard time, coming up with a unique angle. I can still do that, but I will have a hard time. So what I want to do is at this point, I want to check the novelty of this question. And I can click here on check novelty. And what this will do is it will take this question, it will run this question through all the selected databases that we had clicked in the beginning. So as you can see here, it is running this question through multiple databases. It will take a while. It sometimes takes a minute or 2, but let's see how long it takes. If it takes rather long, then we'll jump on to something else. But let's wait here. While it does this, let me show you another feature. So when you click on any question, Chat Academia will give you 2 options. One is check novelty. So we've already clicked on it. And then it will also give you this option of relevant papers. Now, if you click here, we cannot click here because this option is disabled at the moment. But if you click here, it will give you relevant papers that are relevant to this question. So if you find this question interesting, you can simply click on one of these papers, 2 of these papers, any of these papers, start reading, and you can hit the ground running so that you can see what kind of scholarship that is already available in and around this question. Sorry, on and around this question. Here you go. Now we have a novelty score. Now Chat Academia has given us a novelty score, and the novelty score is high novelty. And it says 9 out of 10. This is a very novel research question. While the concept of CV of failures or shadow CV is a recognized cultural phenomenon in academia, so on and so forth. And then we have a whole, explanation. Here you go. So anybody who's doing anything on mental health, mental health of academics, here is a research question that you can write a paper on and get published. So this is, we were able to achieve all of this brainstorming and finding a novel research question. We were able to do this in a matter of like 5 to 10 minutes. And then we also have a list of these papers. So if we click here, this is a paper, and let's say I find this paper interesting, click here, you will be taken to the paper, to the relevant database. So here we have this paper, click on Wiley, click on, and then we will be taken to the actual paper. Let's wait for a second. Okay, Cloudflare is taking a while. Anyways, so yeah, here you go. The silent mental health and well-being crisis of early career researchers in aquatic sciences. So this is an actual real paper. It's not a fake hallucinated reference. Let's go back to Chat Academia. We have a bunch of these. We have 15 papers, 15 relevant papers. So you can get started very easily. If you want to find more related papers, click here and it will give you more related papers. And similarly, you can do this with any question that is available here. You can check its novelty score, find relevant papers. Okay, the aim here is not that we don't want you to work. We want you to work. We actually want you to work very efficiently, but we don't want you to work. We don't want you to spend, say, 3 months finding out, brainstorming research questions and finding out novel research questions. Yeah. So we want you to spend, say, 1 hour, 2 hours on finding a novel research questions, and the rest of the time we want you to actually execute the project, because you will learn much more while executing the project rather than just reading and reading and reading. And especially if you're a PhD student or if you're starting out on a new research project, you may feel this urge to read more and more because you have this feeling that, oh, there is so much literature and I want to read everything available. That is not a very smart way of starting a research project, because what you want to do is you want to enable yourself to finish your project in a stipulated time. You do not have unlimited time, you do not have unlimited resources. So we need to be very wise while executing this kind of, we need to be very wise while looking up or while budgeting our time in terms of how much time we have to spend on just reading. Okay, so this was one feature where we brainstorm research questions. Now you can also say that I don't need to brainstorm research questions. I already have a research question and I want to see if this research question fills a research gap or not. Or I want to find a research gap in available literature. So you click here, identify research gaps. And in here, let me run one of the research questions that I did in my that I researched in my postdoc. So I don't know how relevant it is going to be for you, but it was super relevant for me. So let me run this. Hans Christian Andersen, sorry, reception and translation of, this was my project of Hans Christian Andersen's Fairy Tales in Colonial India. So let's say this is a research question that I think is novel enough, or this is a research question that I want to start my project on. I want to make sure if this research question fills a research gap or not. So I type in a research question, select a model here, and then choose the databases. So I'm going to go with Semantic Scholar, Google Scholar, and OpenAlex, because these are the three databases that are relevant to my work. I don't need ERIC, I don't need PubMed or Archive. And you can customize this selection. So you click here, and what Chat Academia will do now is it will take this question, it will run it through those multiple databases. Again, it will give me a not novelty score, but a gap score, which is quite similar to what a novelty score is. But sometimes people want to have a novel research question. Sometimes people say, no, I don't want a novel research question. I want to fill a research gap in available literature. I think there is not much difference between the two things, but some colleagues prefer one term instead of the other. So we have the app caters to both schools of thought. You can see here that it is looking up available literature, and somewhere this is like it is looking at latest research. So it showed one of my papers that was published just a few months ago. Here you go. So now we have this reception and translation of Hans Christian Andersen's Fairy Tales in Colonial India. The gap score is 8 out of 10. So we measure novelty score or gap score from 0 to 1. If a gap score or novelty score is less than 5, that would mean that this question has already been answered, addressed adequately in published literature. If you have a gap score or a novelty score of more than 5, say 6, 7, 8, or 9, then that means that this question will fill in a huge research gap, or this question is novel, very novel. Then it will tell us this project has 8 out of 10 gap score, and then we have 15 sub questions. Where are the sub questions? Yeah, here they are. Let me go to list. So we have 15 sub questions that you can see here, and we have its explanation. Look at this. While recent scholarship, for example, Bilal 2025, this is my paper that was published a few months ago, has begun exploring the translations of Hans Christian Andersen into Bengali, so on and so forth. And then it says that, there is still room for more work. And then just to show you that it is able to retrieve the latest scholarship that is published and indexed in all databases. And then you can see here Mushtaq Bilal, relevance 10 out of 10. And in here, it will show you relevant papers that are relevant to your research question. So it will give you these relevant papers, then it will give you the relevant score, how relevant this paper is to your project. You can see here 6 out of 10 relevance, 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10. So you can start, you can hit the ground running. And then you have this refined research questions. And again, you can go here and okay, for refined research questions, you cannot find their research gap, but that's okay. So you have a research question here that fills a research gap in available scholarship, and there are multiple options for you to approach this project. You can approach this project from British folklore, from the perspective of British folklore, from the perspective of indigenization, from the perspective of Tamil language and Madras presidency, Nordic aesthetics. So we have like 16 different angles or options to look at this question. So, and every question also has these relevant papers. So in a very short amount of time, we are able to have all this information synthesized for us. The challenge for us as scholars or as academic researchers is that there is so much information available. And if we start synthesizing that information, that will take us a lot of time and effort. And we don't want to spend time on synthesizing available information. We want to spend, sometimes we do want to synthesize, but we want to spend the most of our time on actually creating new knowledge. You know, synthesizing what people have already said will not get us anywhere. But coming up with an original argument of my own will get me somewhere, will get me published. Yeah. So this is research gaps. Similarly, we also have this thing called this feature called find novel research questions. So you go here, you want to have a research question that is totally novel, that is going to fill a research gap. You can select the databases, relevant databases, and run the research question. And again, this will give you a question. This will take this topic and it will give you a list of novel research questions. As you can see here, these three features are quite similar to each other, but they serve very niche or very particular and specific requirements of colleagues, academic researchers. So it will take the question, it will run it through multiple databases, and then it will give me a list of novel research questions with their novelty scores. So let's wait for a minute. If it is able to do this in say a minute or so, less than a minute, in a few seconds. Yeah, here you go. So now we have a list of novel research questions. It is calculating their novelty scores. And in a minute, it will give us the novelty score of all these research questions. Again, we can go and refine these questions if we want to. And we can also edit the questions also. You click here and you can edit the question, Not yet. It is still generating response. Okay. Let's give it a couple more seconds, maybe. We have graph. I hope I've talked about graph. We have graph, and this is the view. You can zoom in and zoom out. depending on your preference. I usually prefer the list view. Okay, let me go and maybe show you one of the previous searches that I ran. So academic, this was a search that I ran just before the start of the webinar. And as you can see here, here is a list, here's the topic of my research project, and then it gave me a short little description. And then here is a list of all the novel research questions, and we have the novelty score. So 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 novelty, 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10. We have a calculated novelty score, 6 out of 10. So, not a good research question, maybe. 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10. Sometimes you're lucky. Sometimes you can also get 10 out of 10 novel research question. Very, very, very good. And then for every research question, you will have this relevant papers. You can go and look up these relevant papers, download them, start reading them. Very easy, very quick, very efficient. Okay, so far we've talked about academic chat, which is an unstructured way of chatting with academic databases, brainstorming research questions, identifying research gaps, and finding novel research questions. But let's say we have a novel research question, we have decided on a novel research question, and now we need relevant papers or relevant literature. One way is to do this. You click here, and then you can look up certain papers from here, but this is not a very exhaustive search, as you can imagine. This is like the most relevant papers that have been shown or that are relevant to this research question. But if we go to find papers, you will see that, okay, for every feature and agent, under the chat bar, you will see this watch tutorial. So if you click here, say this one, you click on watch tutorial, and it will take you to a YouTube video of the tutorial. So if you are in doubt, simply click on watch tutorial and watch the tutorial there and then. Okay, let's go to find papers. Now, what we've done here is you can find papers on, say, you can go to Google Scholar, or you can go to PubMed or any other database, and you can find those relevant papers. That is totally fine. There is no problem at all. This is, let's say I want to run this search, how does social media impact mental health? I can run this search here, in Google Scholar, in PubMed. But what we've done here is we have integrated 8 databases. So I can run a search through 8 databases through 500 to 600 million papers at once. So we click here, social media, how does social media impact mental health of, let's say, of academics. And that's it. In one go, you will be able to run a search through 600 million papers. That is the real time save for us. You don't have to go to multiple databases, run those searches, and then figure out, oh, these are relevant papers. No, you run it here, and then it will give you a table of relevant papers. And we will be able to do a lot of things within the table as well. So as you can see here, the search is not as quick like this in Google Scholar. The search takes a little while, and that is because we've gone crazy. It's like 8 databases, and now we have these papers. So as you can see here, these are all, like latest papers. Some of them are like 2025. 2 of them are 2025. Yep. Okay, it is still generating. Anyways, so here we have a table of these papers. Now, this is a table, so title, DOI, authors, so on and so forth. We can customize this table as well. If we go to view, we can select or deselect or remove these columns. So let's say I don't want the column of references and citations, and I don't want DOI. I want, maybe I don't want URL also, because if I click here, I will be able to go to that paper. So this is from Eric. See how valuable this is, that some of us may not even know that there is a database called Eric. And even if you don't know, it doesn't matter. You run a search, Chat Academia will give you the most relevant literature. So we have these databases, we have ARIC, Semantic Scholar, ARIC, OpenAlex, so on and so forth. All the databases that we selected or where it was able to find relevant papers. Now we can use this, we can expand this, and we can also read their abstracts. So here you go. So we have abstracts of these papers we can read and we can find out, oh, this is a relevant paper. Let me download this. And you can also export these papers in the form of a CSV file, PDF, Markdown, or Excel sheet. Or if you use a reference manager like Zotero or Mendeley or EndNote, you can download an RAS file of these references. You can also pin this paper. If you find a paper that is relevant, you can also pin this. But this is not all. You can also do another thing. Let's say, let me remove this one. This will show you why it can give you very customized results. Yeah. Let's say I want to figure out which of these papers deal with PhD researchers. And I want, because my project is only about PhD researchers and maybe people who have qualified, who have finished their PhD in a year or two. I want to see which of these papers deal primarily with PhD researchers. So what I can do is I can go to add column here and I can write a name for the column and then I can give it a description. Okay, tell me if this paper discusses PhD researchers. And then I can add a column. Now, what this will do is it will go through all these papers, abstracts, and whatever information is available, but mostly through their abstracts. And it will tell me, it will create a column here for PhD, and it will tell me if a given paper deals with PhD or not. Here you go. So no focuses on university students in general. This paper specifically includes doctoral students. Very nice. No, no, no. So if I were to look up these papers or if I were to start my research project, I would download this paper and I would start with this because this is the most relevant paper. This is the paper that is most relevant to my project. Yeah. And then you can add more columns also. You can add as many columns as you want. The number of columns is theoretically unlimited. And then if you need more papers, click here, load more papers, and Chat Academia will load more papers for you. So you can see here that this is a very different, much more interactive and AI powered, semantically enriched kind of interaction with literature, unlike something that Google Scholar gives you or PubMed gives you or any traditional database gives you. And ChatGPT also doesn't have this feature either because ChatGPT is meant for, it's a much more general purpose tool rather than a tool designed for academic researchers. So this was Find Papers, very simple looking feature, but you can see how powerful it is that it can give you relevant papers from 600 million papers, multiple databases, 8 databases, and then you can also add columns of your choice to see which particular paper is the most suitable paper or is the paper most relevant to your project. Then we have this Find Grants. So right now we have 4 grants: US government grants, UK EU grants, and UK RI grants. So if you are you're finishing up your PhD and you're looking for postdoc and you're looking for a grant, you can simply come here and look up. So show me grants on, say, renewable energy or something like this. Whatever your topic is, it will go look up those 4 grant sources, those 4 databases, and then it will give you the funding opportunities, whatever funding opportunities are available. So again, you can do this on your own in different databases by going to US, UK, EU grants. But what we've done here is we've consolidated all the sources, and then you run a simple search and all the funding opportunities will be here. So we have title, agency, deadline, it is still doing deadline, funding range, so on and so forth, grant type, and the links. So you go here, click here, and then you will be taken to, okay, so this is not available. Let me look up another. Yeah, so this is a grant, disaster solar energy, chronic disease management, so on and so forth. And then you have multiple grants here. Yeah, grants.gov. So you can figure out what kind of grant you need or you want to apply for. And then you will also have, if it is able to find the deadlines, it will do that too. So this is find grants feature. Okay, then once you've found out, I think we need to place find grants somewhere down, because now I realize that it has disturbed the kind of workflow that I had in mind. So we had a few research papers. We looked up a novel research question. We found out relevant papers. Now the time comes after we have a set of research papers. Now we want to read them, of course. So you click here on Reading Assistant, and Reading Assistant is an assistant where you upload a paper and then you can ask questions about it. So for example, you click here. Okay, in here you can see that, and I will come to it in a little later. You can upload papers to your Reading Assistant from your Zotero, from your Mendeley, from your Google Drive. All of these are integrated. So I can upload papers from my Zotero. I'll show you how to integrate it, just a couple of clicks. But let me upload a paper from my device. So you click here, add files from your device. You upload a paper. Let's say I upload this paper. And then I can ask, what is the main argument of this paper? Tell me in 5 sentences. Now this is, you can do this in ChatGPT also, but in here you will see that, yeah, here you go. It will take a while. Here you go. So the main argument of this meta-analysis is that handwritten note-taking results in better educational outcomes and cognitive learning than using electronic devices. And then you can also ask follow-up questions. What are the specific findings of natural science courses, and so on and so forth. So as you're reading this paper, you can simply upload it here and ask questions with chat, ask questions to Chat Academia and have an interactive reading experience. So this is Reading Assistant. The feature that I was really most proud of was this, that I did not get a chance to to show you, but I'll show you in just a minute. That we can integrate our Zotero files, our Mendeley files, and our Google Drive as well. Okay. Let's say now we are reading research papers, and now as we read through these research papers, we would like to take notes on them. And I also used to do this. I still do these workshops where we start with, it's a writing workshop where we start reading a paper, we take notes on it, and then we find a way of taking those notes and feeding them into our zero drafts or first drafts, so that the reading is not done in isolation. The process of reading feeds directly into our writing process, and it's not like we are reading to avoid writing. So what I sometimes do is, nowadays I do this a lot. So I use this feature, audio notes. You click here, record audio notes, and then it will show you. Now I already have an audio note here. If I delete this note, this is how it would look like. So this is a note. This is how it would look like. Now I can go here, create an audio note, and I can choose a title for this, something like Anderson Project. In here, I can take a note by typing, or I can also take a note by recording my voice. If I click on record, I can simply start speaking now. Now, whatever I speak, it will take my speech, it will transcribe it, and then I will be able to also do a bit of a rewrite. So as you can see here, it is still listening. It will keep on listening, and it is auto detecting also if my speech is English or any other language. Okay, I'm going to stop now. So we have this feature, we have this text, but you can see here that the text is already transcribed and quite refined. Not refined, but it's quite neat. Now, this was only 20 seconds, so these are only a couple of sentences. You can also ask it to fix sentences, and you can do a bit of a rewrite. Click on rewrite, and then it will clean it up, clean it up. So whatever notes you take, you can take short, small little notes here as you're reading through, and all the notes, if you click here, all the notes will be saved here. So this is Anderson project. I can create a new audio note, social media project. And in here, I can say, okay, so in this project, I'm going to look at how social media impacts the mental health of academics. But then I'm also very interested in figuring out if social media creates any new professional and job opportunities for academics, especially PhDs who have just finished who have just graduated and who are on the job market, if it creates any new opportunities for them. So you do this. Now we have transcription of our note, click on rewrite, and it's cleaned up. Much more concise, short, create this. Now we have a bunch of notes. As you read through, you take notes, you save these notes, and when you have a bunch of notes, you can also ask questions of these notes. So you go to ask audio notes, and then you can say, what was my last note about? So I don't have these many notes, but you can see here that it will go look up that note, and here you go. Social media project. This was the last note. It's about examining how social media impacts. Would you like me to update this? Update this note? What was the note before that? And then you can, it's like a library of your notes that you've taken simply by speaking into a mic and then using this AI feature to clean them up. So when you go back and when you have read like 10, 15, 20 papers and you have a list of audio notes here, all of your thoughts will already be recorded here so that you will have some notes to go off of and get started on your manuscript. Okay, so this is one way of conducting or executing this or having enough material for your first draft or zero draft. Sometimes, okay, I just finished a draft of a paper yesterday for a project that we are doing. Sometimes I did not used to do this, but nowadays I'm doing quite a lot this practice. So I wrote a whole thing. I wrote like 3,000 words of my thoughts. My boss and I, we discussed, and she gave me an outline for a paper, and I just started writing, and kept on writing 3,000 words. I did not add any references, any citations, nothing. I just wrote what I wanted to write. Then what you can do is, but then she says, Mushtaq, this is a good draft, but we don't have any references. We need to have references. This is a research paper. So I said, no problem. You click here on find citations. Now I have a few thoughts which are, some of the thoughts are uncooked. Some of the thoughts will not make it to the final draft, but I have something. So I wrote, what you can do is you can write a short little passage, and then you can ask, so this is, let me run this abstract of a paper that I wrote. So you can go to find citations, type in or paste a short little excerpt of what you've written, select the relevant databases. Let's select all of these. This is rather not wise. I don't want archive or PubMed or Europe PMC. So you do this and click here. And what this will do is it will go through, Chat Academia will go through the text that you've given it. It will look up relevant papers for your claims and for your statements in those databases. You see here, yeah, it is doing this. And it will give you a list of citations that are relevant to those sentences or claims. Of course, when it gives you papers, you're going to read the papers yourself. It's not that it will give you a paper and you're just going to, copy and paste the citation. You're going to read the paper and see how relevant it is, or if it supports your argument or if it contradicts your argument. You don't want to make an argument and cite a paper that actually contradicts the argument. You see what I mean? So that final decision lies with you. But this is a lot of searching. This is a lot of manual labor that we've outsourced to Chat Academia or AI in general. So we see here 5 sentences. It has found out 3 sources. You click here. These are the 3 sources. Then it gives you how relevant a citation is. It is strongly relevant, how strong the connection is. So these are this sentence has, you can use for this sentence, you can use this source. For this sentence, you have these 2 sources and so on. And you go back and this is the highlighted text. So the point here is that write whatever comes to your mind. Don't hold back. Don't try to craft a perfect sentence or a perfect argument in one go. Write what comes to your mind, then look up, find relevant sources, and go here, look them up, read them, and then cite. So searching and doing the manual work is easily outsourced. All that is left is coming up with new qualitative and original arguments. Okay, so this was find citations. Let's move further. One more thing. Sometimes you may want to, another feature that I'm quite proud of, um, and this is not something that we invented. This is already available in other apps also, but we incorporated in Chat Academia as well. Sometimes when you run a search, in Google Scholar or PubMed or in any other database. The problem here is that it will give you a list of papers, and this is a discrete list. There is no connection between this paper and this paper. We have zero idea how these papers are related. And if you're an academic researcher, you will realize that academic scholarship in a given field exists in the form of a network. So every journal has its own network, every field has its own network, and you cite similar kinds of people, and your citations have to be, you need to engage with recent scholarship, so on and so forth. And I'm also a bit of a visual learner, so it's a lot easier for me to visualize connections than to see in the form of a discrete list. So let me look this up. This is a paper that I published a few years ago. So let's say I have this paper. What I want to do is I want to find out papers that are relevant to this paper, more papers. Sorry, I go here in metadata and I've copied its DOI. So this is the DOI of the paper. I go back to Chat Academia. Let me close down these tabs. So I go here, I click on paper graph, and then I simply type in or paste the DOI of the paper. I hope everybody knows what a DOI is, digital object identifier. You click here, and then it will give you a graph of relevant papers. It is going to go find relevant papers, and now we have a graph of these papers. As you can see here, this is my paper, and then these are, okay, it's still doing. It's not done yet. Yeah, it is done. So now we have a list of these, a graph of these papers. We can also click here and then we can get a list of these papers. So this sign shows that this is a seed paper, and then we click here, this is a graph, and then you click on any of these nodes and it will show you that paper. You can click here, not deep, click open paper. So you click on open paper and you will be taken to the relevant database. And from there, you can go to the actual text of the paper. So all of these papers are within the same network, or these are the papers that are published within the same field as my paper. So this paper, Roig Sans, I think I have worked with this colleague. Click here, open paper. I'm not sure. Global Literary Studies. I think so. I'm not sure, but it looks like. So, anyways, so this is how the paper, the graph of, or sorry, a network of relevant papers, relevant scholarship would look like. You can also go back and find paper graph. You can look up. Let's run this paper. This would depend on the kind of paper you have and the kind of citations it has, how rich the graph is. Here you can see that this is a very rich graph, and this is, this is interactive. You can move things around. This is a very different experience than doing this, having a discrete list of papers. So this was paper graph. Let me go back here. The next feature we have in Chat Academia is extract data. Now, let's say you have a bunch of research papers and you want to extract data of data values, certain data values across all those papers. So let's go to extract data here. In here, you will need to upload these papers. So upload these papers, upload your research files. So let me upload maybe one or only two papers. You can upload multiple papers. You can upload 10, 15 papers, but sometimes, not sometimes, if you upload a lot of papers and if you add a lot of values or extraction columns, then it takes a while. So I have these three papers and I want to say, let's go with methodology, describe the methodology used in this paper. Sorry. You can add another column. You can say objectives. Describe the objectives of this paper. And you can add further more columns. So for example, I can write here country. In which country was this study conducted? So it totally depends on what your individual requirements are. Once you're done, click here on extract, and then it will start extracting the relevant data values for you. So we have these three papers here. It will add columns just like we saw in find papers feature. So the values are empty at the moment. Let me do this so that the table becomes a little easier to negotiate. So we have methodology of these papers, we have objectives of these papers, and country. And then you can also add more columns if you want. You can add another column. You can delete a column also. I think you can delete a column. Yeah, you can click here and you can delete the column. You can hide the column if you don't want to permanently delete it. And then you can export this column as a CSV file, as an Excel sheet, as a PDF, as a markdown as well if you use Claude Code or Codex AI agents, these AI agents. So it's very, very versatile. The column is very useful, very easy to export. And you can, so the main difference between find papers and this data extraction is that in find papers, AI will be limited only to the abstract of the paper. But in here, AI is running, or it is looking up the whole text of the paper. So this is one of the main qualitative differences between these two features. Okay, let's move on. So after extract data, we have literature overview. So literature overview is very easy to understand. It is not a literature review. A lot of apps I don't want to name them, but a lot of apps, I review many of these apps, on a daily basis. A lot of apps will say that, okay, run a literature review or run a systematic review in this app. I don't agree with that. And I think this is, I mean, they can do whatever they want to do, but literature review, if you create with AI, you can never publish that literature review. That is not a literature review. That is just a synthesis of available literature. A literature review ought to have an argument. The purpose of a literature review is not to build a library, but to build an argument. That's why we do not have a literature review. We have a literature overview. This will give you a synthesis of available literature. So, for example, how does social media impact mental health of teenagers? If I ask this question, it will give me a literature overview, and that will be based on the databases that I select. So I'm not going to, let me just move this around. I don't need maybe archive. Oh, let's keep archive. Let's keep all of these. Yeah. And then click here. And what it will do is it will go and it will identify relevant papers. It will identify papers that are relevant to my research question. Then it will filter studies, papers that are relevant and papers that are not relevant. And then it will only give me list of relevant papers. Not list of relevant papers, but it will give me a write-up based on these relevant papers. So as you can see here, this is taking a while. Let me show you one of the searches that I ran just before the webinar started. Telemedicine barrier. So you can see here, this is key themes and findings. This is an overview of literature. It also shows you research gaps identified, strengths and limitations of the evidence, so on and so forth. It's not exhaustive. It's not literature review. So it identified 18 relevant papers, filtered them, um, found 13 papers relevant, and then based on those papers, it gave us this overview. You click on papers, and then it will give you a list of papers as well. So if a paper is relevant, it will show you this paper was considered relevant. You can mark it not relevant if you want to, if you think you don't agree with this. So you have all the list, you have a list of papers, then you can click on extract, and it will give you this data that is relevant to your question. And then if you click on synthesis, it will give you a synthesized answer to your question. So it's an overview of available literature in here. We have 4 themes and a narrative synthesis. This is not a literature review. This is an overview of available literature so that you can get a bird's eye view of what you're going to do or what the scholarship is, available scholarship, published scholarship is like. Okay, not finally, we still have a lot of features to cover. Okay, we have research verdict. Now, research verdict I find this very useful feature. Let me close these tabs, extra tabs. Okay. So research verdict is, the way it works is that if you want to find, let's say, if you have a yes no question, okay, for it to work, you will need to have a yes no question. So let's say I have this question: does immigration improve economy? If I this question, I want to see what the available scholarship or what the available verdict of scholarly community on this question is. So I run this question in here in research verdict, and it will go look up relevant papers in the selected databases. It will find out how the scholarship treats this question, and then it will give us a research verdict. Let me show you the search that I ran just before the start of the webinar. Research verdict, go to handwriting memory. Before the webinar, I ran this question, and the question was about, does writing by hand help with memory retention than typing? So as you can see here, it ran this question through multiple databases, and then it came up with this short little write-up. And then here we have this research verdict. So it looked up 10 relevant papers. 50% of these relevant papers say yes, writing by hand helps with memory retention. 40% of the papers say that no, they don't, it doesn't help, and 10% are like possibly. Okay. Then we have evidence quality, recency, methods, and so on. And then we have position summaries of these papers. So 5 papers say yes, 4 papers say no, and 1 paper is possibly. Then we go to paper analyzed. So this paper says no, don't ditch the laptop just yet. It says it doesn't help with memory retention. There is no difference. This paper says yes, typing, sorry, writing by hand will help you with memory retention. No, yes, no. So this is a lot more easier and a convenient way of looking up papers that support one or another type of argument. So let's say I want to look up papers that only argue against this, that you write by hand, you type stuff, it is equally good. So I can easily find out these no papers, 4 papers. Yeah. If I don't have a tool like this, I will have to run a search in Google Scholar or PubMed, download the papers, read them myself, and then find out. So as you can see, that's a lot of time and effort. And all of that time and effort can be easily outsourced to a tool like Chat Academia. Okay, let's proceed further. We have research verdict. We also have a mock peer review. Okay, I just finished a manuscript yesterday and I should have run this through mock peer review. Maybe I will. So in here, what you can do is you can upload a paper and it will give you a mock peer review of the paper. So you can it is like it is very customizable. Okay, let me do this. Let me add a few papers, not a few papers, but 1 paper maybe. Okay, this is a published paper, so let's go with it. So you add your paper as a PDF or as a doc file, and then you ask it to evaluate the strength of this paper and its methodology. Now, evaluate the strength of argument in this paper and its methodology. You can also ask a bunch of other things, evaluate its structure, its organization, its use of sources, so on and so forth, whatever you want it to look at. Click here, and then it will give you a list of recommendations. This usually takes a while. So let me go back here, show you one of the searches, paper analysis from earlier. So I ran this paper that I had published a few months ago. So I ran this paper and it says main argument and methodology, and then review summary. It's very short. Then it gave me this graph. So novelty is 9.5, evidence is 9.5, argument 9.5, so on and so forth. And then it gives you strengths of the paper and weaknesses. So this is one weakness in here. It's not, and then there are 3 issues. So justification for case study selection, deeper connection, and strengthening the theoretical conclusion. As you can see here, this is not exhaustive feedback. This is not peer review. This is a mock peer review. This will only highlight the things that you want it to, this will only evaluate the things that you want it to evaluate. I've used a bunch of other tools as well. There is refining, there is, what is it called? Mock peer review by, oh, I'm blanking on the name, but there are a bunch of tools available. Some of them are also open access. You can use any of these tools, but they give you such exhaustive, such overwhelming, critiques. They're like 13 pages long critique. Oh my God, my paper itself is not 13 pages long, and you're giving me 13-page single spaced critique. So that's too overwhelming for us, for anybody. And I don't want to rework the whole thing, based on AI suggestion. So what we've done is we will give you the most, what Chat Academia will ask you what you want it to evaluate, and then it will give you the most important things that need to be addressed. And in this case, it also gave me this overview and accept. So, this paper is good enough to be accepted. Very cool. I like this validation. Okay. Then we have Notepad. In Notepad, so the Notepad is AI powered assistant. So we click here on create Notepad, and on the right hand side, we will get this Notepad. I can start writing here. AI will not write for me. AI can only help me with, can only assist me in my research. So on the left hand side, we have this AI assistant. Now I can write here, let's say, Hans Christian Andersen in colonial India. And then I can start typing. I can start drafting my project here. But then at some point, I'm like, okay, I don't know if Anderson had been, his fairy tales have been translated into, let's say, I don't know, Urdu or Tamil or any other language. So I don't have to go and run a search through, multiple databases. I can simply go here, integrate all the databases I want, and then I can simply ask here, was Hans Christian Andersen, okay, not was, but were Hans Christian Andersen's fairy tales translated into Bengali in 19th century, something like this. And I can ask a question here. This is my research assistant. It will do the search. It will do the scut work. And here I'm writing, in the 19th century, whatever. And as you can see here, yes, there is scholarly evidence. Whatever search I want to run, I can run through multiple databases, millions of papers while I'm working. You don't have to, close this, go to a separate, open a separate tab, and then run a search. And everything will be saved here. Okay, Notepad is done. Now, finally, not finally, we still have a couple more things to do. We have Zotero and Mendeley. So if you click on Zotero, you can have a chat or you can ask questions about papers in your Zotero. So not databases, sorry. If I do this, list my papers, it will list all the recent papers. How do we do this? We go to storage to integrate Zotero and Mendeley. We cannot integrate EndNote yet because EndNote doesn't have an API that can be integrated, by third parties. So you click on Zotero under storage, and then you will see that here I have this connected. You will see disconnected. If I disconnect this, I can connect here to Zotero. It will give me this Zotero settings. It will ask me to, log in if I'm not logged in, and then click on defaults. And your Zotero is connected. It's just like 2 clicks. Here you go. Similarly, you can do the exact same thing with Mendeley. Go to Mendeley, you will see connect button here. Click on connect, log into it, and your Mendeley would be connected. And then you can simply go and, sorry, while we are at it, we can also use Google Drive. So go here and connect your Google Drive. Now in Zotero and in Mendeley, once you've connected this, you go back to the Zotero agent here, and now you can ask a question. You can say, uh, look up, okay, give me the summary of a paper that you already have in your Zotero, reading Mohsin Hamid's Exit West as world novel. So I know I have this paper in my Zotero, and I go to Zotero and this is Zotero agent. And what this will do is It will go back, it will it will go to my Zotero, retrieve the PDF of that paper, summarize it, and then answer my question. You see, PDF accessed by the agent will appear here, so on and so forth. And you can have, follow-up questions as well. Let me see if I have uh, a previous conversation from earlier. But let's wait. How long does it take? Not very long. Here you go. It has found out full text. It has found out the tags, text and the tags. Here you go. So based on the paper by Mushtaq Bilal, this is the core argument. These are the key themes and insights, so on and so forth. You can also say find other papers by Mushtaq Bilal. So whatever you have in your Zotero library, you can interact with your Zotero library in Chat Academia. You don't have to go to your Zotero library. I mean, there is no harm in going there, but if you have say 1,300 papers in your Zotero library, it's a big hustle to move them into any AI app. But in here, you can easily integrate all of your Zotero library or Mendeley library and chat with them. Chat with any specific paper from your library. And then finally, we have similarly, you can do this with Mendeley and you can import papers from your or connect papers from your Google Drive. Finally, we have this memory here. In here, as you keep on chatting and as you keep on using the app, Chat Academia will build a memory of whatever you've done or whatever the kind of work that you do, and then it will, at some point, if you are like, okay, so what do you know about me, you can ask this question. It will tell you what it has in its memory about you. So Mushtaq Bilal, based in arts, field arts and humanities, based in Denmark. This is my user profile, personal context, active research, and these are all the details. This is my research focus, so on and so forth. So a very smart way, a very useful way of reflecting on what you've already done throughout your interactions with Chat Academia. Okay, so this was it, and now I'm going to shut up so that we can have a few Q&A. One last thing before we open the floor up for Q&A. Chat Academia has, let me talk about the most important thing, pricing. So we offer, of course, a free plan. You can sign up for it. It will give you 500 credits every month. Then we have a 15-month, $15 plan. This is billed annually. So we have this plan that is basic, $30 plan that is elite plan that gives you 20,000 credits, and then $45 plan. So all of these credits, 10,000 credits per month, after a month, your unused credits would be exhausted and you will get 20,000 or 30,000 credits every new month. We also have these lifetime plans. In lifetime plans, what happens is that for $9.99 or $12.99, you buy a plan and then you will have, I think, close to 1 million credits, and you will be able to use those million credits as long as those credits last. There is no cap there is no monthly cap, no cap. As long as you have the credits, you can use them, and you only have to pay once. So if you're doing a larger project, if you're starting out on a PhD, you can buy once and that's about it. Forget about it, and then keep on using the app. And of course, as we proceed, as we go forward, we will also be adding more and more features, and the features that we already have, we'll be making them even better. And then we have these sorry, there was a few FAQs as well. If you have any questions, you can look them up here. What AI models are available? How is novelty scored? What does lifetime access work? How does lifetime access work? So on and so forth. And if you're like, we like the app, but we don't want to subscribe to it. Rather, we would like our library to subscribe to it, and then we would like to use the app through our university's library. Very easy. Please write an email to me, or you can go here to Teams and book a call with us, and then we can talk to your library. We can give your library a plan. We can organize with your library and they will give you access. We did this with the university in Finland. So we gave them a university subscription. Anybody with with the university email was able to log into the app for free and they were able to use the app. Okay, one more thing before I open up for questions. If you are interested in buying a subscription, you can use this code April 20, April 25, not 2025, April 25 for a flat 25% discount on all Chat Academia subscriptions. Sorry, I have not written here, except lifetime subscriptions. So lifetime subscriptions are not eligible for this discount. But if you use this April 25, it will give you a flat 25% discount on all annual and monthly subscriptions. Okay, now we can have Q&A. Let me enable the chat. Okay, do we have any questions? Thank you, Najam. There is a question, a very interesting session, but with too much information. Will it be possible to have? Yes, Enric, I'll send you the recording of this. What can you do with 500 credits per month versus 10,000 credits? 500 credits is very limited. You will be able to run a few, brainstorming sessions, but not much beyond that. 10,000 credits will, of course, give you a lot more flexibility and options. It was so fast. Oh my God, I could have slowed down. Please, I'm sorry. Sometimes I just get overexcited. If we submit a paper for mock review, is there any risk of plagiarism? No, Javed Ali, we don't use your information for any purposes. Nothing. The information is encrypted. We do not send your paper to anybody to train their models, and we don't train our own models. We are not interested in that. Are you the co-founder of Chat Academia? Yes, I am. Secondly, I once submitted a book chapter for mock peer review. When I submitted my chapter for publication, it showed AI generated and plagiarized content. I'm not sure, Maida, did you use this app for mock peer review or any other app? Is it possible to use Scopus and Web of Science databases? Not yet. I have actually, I have tried to get access to Scopus and Web of Science databases, but it's just not easy for people like us to get their subscription. They are very stingy. These people, Scopus, Web of Science, they're very stingy. They do not give, access to their databases because they want to put AI on their own databases. So Elsevier has this Leap Space, and I don't know about Web of Science. So they have their own AI assistants. So we don't have Scopus and Web of Science databases, and that is not for any lack of trying. Okay, so Maida used Claude AI. I can't really comment on Claude's peer review, Maida, but it may be a good idea if you use AI for mock peer review. You take the suggestions and then you revise it. But it's the human, it's the researcher that has to make any and all decisions. AI can only suggest. So my suggestion would be to take the suggestions and make a judgment if this suggestion is going to improve my argument or if it is going to become if it is going to make my argument, if it is going to dilute my argument. If you add too many sources over, a lot of citations, sometimes that also shows a bit of insecurity, that you're not secure enough in your argument. Somebody saying, I have a library of 1000 PDFs. What is the most efficient way to interact with my collection on my laptop and how? If you are talking about Chat Academia, let me show you. Chat Academia also has this function of library. So you go here, you have 1000 PDFs or however many PDFs. You go here in library and then you upload all the papers here. So as you can see here, all the papers that I uploaded to Chat Academia are saved in my library. They will be saved here. Then you can go to chat, academic chat, brainstorming, research question, any of these agents, click on this and then add devices, add library files. So from here, you can add a file that is in your library. All the PDFs will be available here that you can chat with, you can ask questions about it, summarize, interact with them within the library. So I hope I've answered this question. No, any question I found very helpful. Thank you. Thank you, Mohammed Islam. Thank you very much. Which subscription plan do you recommend for a PhD researcher just starting out? Amira, very good question. It really depends on the kind of budget that you're working with. It may be Melody has a very interesting question. Melody, I think this is quite relevant to what Amira is saying. You're right, it consumed 8,000 credits. That was because I was using a pro model and then I was running it across all databases. You see, you're absolutely right, Melody. It was like I have, I'm sort of overspending my credits just for the demonstration purposes. But if you use, smartly, or you don't have to, if you're like, I'm a humanities researcher, you don't have to run, searches through PubMed. Yeah. So if you don't do that, then you will definitely save credits. You can also, use the fast model. Fast model is very efficient and very reliable. I was using Pro just for the demonstration purposes. So this is absolutely right. You're 100% correct that this is because I used all the databases. Uh, we have this option, Melody, to have to ramp it up, to crank all the knobs and to make it pro and max and have all the databases. It is not advisable and it is not necessary at all. It is highly customizable and it totally depends on the kind of work that you do. I rarely use Max. Sometimes I do Max when I have to look up citations, because there I want it to be very, very careful about my text. So I want it to exhaust all its resources. Amira's question is relevant to this. Which subscription plan would I suggest? Depends on the kind of budget you are working with. If money is no issue, I would say go for a lifetime subscription, because then, like, I don't know if you speak Urdu, if you're familiar with Urdu, but growing up in Urdu, there is a saying that somebody who buys an expensive thing only cries once, and that is when you pay for it. And after that, you don't really cry because you've paid for it. If you buy something cheap, then you cry every month because every month you realize that, oh my God, I have to pay for this, and then you're not happy either. So this is not to say that we have it will have any cheap or any substandard features. But if money is not no issue, go for a lifetime subscription. If money is an issue, then money is always an issue. I should say this. Then it may be a good idea to go for an annual plan of like 20,000 or 30,000 credits per month. But then again, these are my preferences. You don't have to follow my suggestions. It would depend on what the kind of work that you do. Is it risky to take annual subscription due to fast development? Josiba, great question. AI agents and skills. We can do this. AI agents and skills. We can do this in this version as well. We will come up with, right now, AI agents and skills are rather they require a rather time consuming process to set up. You have to write a skill or get a skill written by Claude and then run an AI agent. We don't want colleagues to spend that kind of time on setting up things like this. We want colleagues to spend. We want to give a product, ready-made product for them. Does that make sense? We don't want you to do the homework. We want to do the homework for you. So if you buy an annual subscription, we will update the app. We are always shipping features, we are shipping features very fast. So if you have a specific feature request, you tell us, and if it makes sense, if it's on our, if it is doable, we can ship it, within a couple days. But these AI agents, the way it is, the way they have been imagined in Codex and in Claude, they are much more optimized for coding purposes and less for academic research. Which is not to say that we will not incorporate them. We will incorporate them, but we will try to find out first a way that is more user friendly rather than writing, 13 MD files. Okay. In Italian, we say, though they who spend more spend less. 100%. Thank you, Consuela. Thank you very much. I spent, I learned this very late in my life. I've realized, I think, I mean, this is a little off topic. When I moved to Denmark, I bought a pair of shoes, one of the most comfortable pair of shoes I've ever bought in my life. It cost, I think at the time it was like $200, something like, and I literally, I held my head in my hands when I was paying. I was like, oh my God, I cannot afford to buy this. But I think my wife pushed me and I bought it. And I've been wearing them for the last 3 years. The most comfortable, most, most used pair of shoes I ever bought. Thank you, Fatma. Mada has a question, general question. Can you suggest any AI tool for poster designing? As soon as I have a poster presentation, you can use ChatGPT's new model, Image 2. That can design a very good poster for you. Thank you, Samrana. Thank you very much. Glad you found this helpful. Kindly share links which may allow to interact with folders on one's PC without uploading the files one by one. I'm not sure I understand your question, Najam. $15 is not showing in my billing section. Umair, can you send me an email with a screenshot maybe? Okay, before we, thank you, Andre, thank you very much. This is my email if you have any questions. Mushtaq Bilal at phd@gmail.com. Yes, contact for, this is, yeah, try Borium. Borium is also, Borium could also work. This is my email, mushtaqbilalphd@gmail.com. Okay, one more thing. Since there was somebody who was talking about Claude AI, Josipa, you were saying, okay, speaking of Claude AI and agents, if anybody is interested in Claude AI and AI agents, I'm doing a webinar next Saturday. And let me share the screen with you. I'm doing a webinar on 2nd of May, and this is with AI agents. So let me send you the link to the webinar. If you are interested, I am doing that webinar on the 2nd of May. It is going to be, that webinar is going to be like a 3-hour webinar. It's a very lengthy webinar. So, and it's a paid webinar. I wish I could make it free, but it's like too much work, and it requires a lot of commitment of colleagues and everybody involved. So I'm going to pop in the link to the webinar. This is the webinar that I'm doing on 2nd of May. We are going to, in this webinar, we'll talk about the person. Yeah, thank you for the question. I put in the details in the Zoom chat on paper writing using AI. Yes, this is the webinar on writing a paper. If I pay, I get yes, you will get a recording. You will always get a recording. I record all my webinars. I have all the recordings of my webinars, dating back to 2000, 2023. I'll send you a recording as well. Robert has a question. Do credits roll over if unused? No, Robert, credits do not roll over in annual plans. Every month you get 10,000, 20,000, or 30,000 credits. If you buy a lifetime subscription, then you have nearly 1 million credits and they will just stay with you. They will not be exhausted unless you exhaust them. And also for your tips, thank you very much, Josepha. Thank you very much. So in that webinar that I'm doing next Saturday is 2nd of May. Yeah, next Saturday. So in that webinar, we'll talk about AI agents, and in that I'll teach you how to set up Claude Code, AI agents, and Codex. So Codex and Claude Code AI agents, they're very interesting actually. I find them very, very useful. I have trained Claude to write in my own voice, in English and in Danish, and Claude is doing wonders. Wow, I mean, it has taken a bit of time to set it up, writing those MD files or editing those MD files or customizing them. But now it's like a workhorse for me. Very, very efficient. I feel so motivated. I do not feel any writer's block. Or even if I'm like, oh my God, I don't feel like writing, I can ask Claude to give me a prompt or give me something to go off of, and I get motivated, in like 5 minutes. So very good features. Claude and Codex, they also require paid subscriptions. So that is why it takes a bit of commitment. Having said that, I think, in my personal opinion, having these tools, familiarizing yourself with tools like Codex and Claude, and don't be intimidated. There is nothing coding going on. We can do this without coding as well. I don't code a damn thing. Sorry, I shouldn't say this. Uh, I don't code, but I can use these tools, without having to learn coding as well. Tabassum, okay, very important question. If you are going to sign up for my webinar on the 2nd of May, please use the code May 25 for a 25% discount. I'll send you all these details along with the recording of this webinar. I hope Tabassum I've answered this question. So for Chat Academia, in the month of April, you can use April 25 for a 25% off. And for my May webinar, 2nd of May webinar, you can use May 25 for a flat 25% off. Okay, Robert has asked a question here. Robert, I have answered your question. Is there any other question that I have not? What about subscription link? Fulaju, which subscription are you talking about of Chat Academia? Subscription link, please. Okay, I'm not sure which subscription link you're talking about, but I'm going to pop in these two links. Here you go. This is chatacademia.com. Yeah, here you go. Chatacademia.com. Very easy. And if you are interested in my webinars or my upcoming webinars, I do a bunch of webinars. Until last year, I would only do one webinar that was on AI, that supercharge your academic writing with AI. That was the only webinar I did. But this year, I've started a bunch of other webinars. There is one workshop that I do where it's a 2-hour workshop. It's a very hands-on workshop. We actually read, take notes, and write in the workshop. And these are very focused sessions. So that is how to build an academic writing habit. So that is one workshop. Then I also do a webinar on Zotero. If you are interested in learning about Zotero, having Zotero as your research assistant, and we also learn how to integrate AI into Zotero. So in this, Chat Academia gives you access to your Zotero, but sometimes you want to use AI in your Zotero library. We do that too. I cover that as well. Okay, one final webinar then I started this year was how to make money online as social media, how to make money on social media as an academic. So that has been attended by like 100 odd colleagues, in the past. Yes, Maida, this brings me, you're right. You can find my upcoming webinars on my LinkedIn or on my Twitter. You can also go to, I'm going to give you this link of my Eventbrite link. You can follow me on Eventbrite and you can sign up for the email there. And then it will show you, it will send you an email every time you account settings. Yeah, copy URL. Here you go. Okay. So this is my Eventbrite link. You can go here and follow me on Eventbrite, and you will get an email every time I announce. Do you have a LinkedIn ID? Absolutely. Okay, I think I should share all these IDs. Let me just copy them. Apologies, my computer is a little slow. This is my LinkedIn ID. You can follow me on LinkedIn, and you can also follow me on Twitter or X, or you can follow me on Threads. If you don't like Twitter, that is totally fine. If you want to follow me on social media, it's the easiest way is to look up, if you don't find any of these links, you can easily look up Mushtaq Bilal PhD on Google and it will show you my social media profile. Is the platform available in other languages? Not at the moment, Alime. Not at the moment, but thank you for your feedback. I'm going to write this, maybe which language would you prefer? I believe Turkish. I'm going to take a note here, other languages. And I'm sure we can do something about other languages as well. Okay, Alime Hilmaz, quick question. If we offer other languages, would that convince you to subscribe to Chat Academia or not? Sorry for being so direct, but I just want to, I'll need to convince my colleagues, my technical colleagues, and they always ask questions like this. Okay, you can answer whenever you feel like. What about expanding search databases in Ibrahim? Okay, which database are you interested in? We have 8 at the moment, but if you tell me the name of a database that you're interested in, I can look into it. Some of the proprietary databases, like somebody said, yes, I will share the recording of Buvaris. Like somebody said, the Q1 journals. Q1 journals, Q1 is a ranking. Q1 is not a database, is it? So we will be able to integrate any database that is available that that they make makers of the database make it available. If they make it like I'm not sure. Taylor and Francis database. So this is okay. Taylor and Francis we cannot integrate at the moment because Taylor and Francis, who owns them? Taylor and Francis is owned by Rutledge. No, but I have looked into it. They do Clarivate. I think it is Clarivate. They do not give access to third parties. I've tried to buy access from them as well, and I'm in contact with them, but it's very difficult for us to gain access, even with even if we agree to pay them. They usually give access to university libraries, so that's a roadblock. That's the only reason. Otherwise, if it were available, I would have my colleagues integrate these databases right now. I would tell them we are not sleeping. We are going to integrate them before tomorrow. You mentioned Chat Academia can interact with Google Drive, Mendeley, Zotero. How about collections that one has on Dropbox or on one's own PC? Not a very good question. We do not have Dropbox at the moment, but maybe Dropbox should be added. Not a bad deal, not a bad suggestion. One's own PC. If you have something on your own PC, you can simply upload the PDFs into your library on Chat Academia, just like I suggested when somebody said that they had 1,000 papers here. So that's one way to go about it. Okay. What about open access theses, dissertations, and EBSCO, open dissertations, since they are useful for PhD students? Elsevier. Yes, Ibrahim, Elsevier. I have talked to Elsevier. They did not agree to give us access to their database. Okay, open access thesis and dissertation. Josipa, this is a good, okay, this is open access thesis. I'm going to note it down and I'm going to talk about this. EBSCO, I'm not sure if we can do EBSCO, but I think if it is open access thesis and databases, there is another one, ProQuest. I'm looking into ProQuest as well. And I'll look into open access theses and dissertations as well. So thank you very much for these suggestions. Thank you, Ibrahim. Yes, I know. I recognize you. I recognize your name. I remember your emails as well. Usually, I'm very bad with names, but if there is somebody important and if somebody has subscribed to Chat Academia, I remember them. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for using our app and for trusting us. I really appreciate that. Of course, of course. Okay. Thus, is the subscription price sensitive to the country economy, especially no-income countries like Nigeria? That's a really good and great question. Unfortunately, it is not sensitive, and I'm going to tell you the reason why. The reason is that we buy these AI models from American companies, and then we customize them. So they do not give us any what is it called, pricing parity. So they do not give us, and then we have to pay them. So we can do this, but then we'll have to run into losses. So we cannot do that, this kind of subsidy, and keep it sustainable. Great question, Adriana. What about Sylvia? When use each one, what are the main differences? Good question. Sylvie AI is an app designed specifically and only for systematic reviews. Systematic reviews is a very specialized, research methodology. It has screening and data extraction, that sort of thing. And Sylvie will only do that. That's it. That is only meant for systematic reviews. And we are also working on having a new feature for meta-analysis. But Chat Academia is much more general purpose and much more customizable. So it doesn't just concern with itself with systematic reviews. That's the main difference. Lots of features since I joined more than a year ago. Mohammed Abbasi, thank you. I remember you. Yes, we've added a bunch of features. We have added a bunch of features now. Atla Religion Database is on humanities. Thank you, David. Thank you very much. I am going to take a note here, religion database, and I'm going to look into this. The main challenge with these databases, including over 300,000, 380,000 full text. Wow. I mean, I would just like to integrate this out of my own, curiosity. My PhD, by the way, is on 19th century literature, and I did my PhD. It is in comparative literature, but I looked at religion, nation, um, and religion, nation, and novel. Yeah. So I'm going to look into it. So David, the only challenge that we'll face here is if this database has an open API. If it does, we'll be able to integrate it very easily. If they do not have an open access API, then we may have to find another way of doing it. It's not impossible, but we'll just have to find a way around that. But having an API is the simplest way. Is the subscription price sensitive? Okay, so I've answered this question. Yes, thank you, David. No, I've taken a note. I've noted it down here, and I'm going to compile this feedback and send it out to my colleagues, um, technical colleagues, and we'll explore this. If it is possible, I can assure you it will be done within the next week. If they have an API, I can assure you it will be done within the next week.